When it comes to DLC characters in Mortal Kombat, the most highly appreciated and loved tends to be the Earth Elemental, Tremor, making his debut in MK Special Forces for the PlayStation, and really that being the last time we saw of him, except for a PS Vita MK9 Challenge Tower bonus appearance. While Tremor very much has not been in enough games to ever have a competitive history appearance, at least not yet, his existence in Mortal Kombat X absolutely warrants a study, as he is said by many, especially these days, to be the absolute strongest character in the final version of the game. This video explains why. One of the most creative characters ever put into a Mortal Kombat game, and with the recent revival of MKX tournaments, let's break down just how strong the Black Dragon Enforcer really is. We'll cover Tremor as a base first, as both his specials and buttons are all insanely strong. Plus, it's an excuse to bring out variationless Tremor, which is the only way you can experience his standard design. Tremor has a bunch of specials. Rock Drop is an overhead projectile he can put on you, or in front, or behind. The fact that it's overhead and comes out a little later means that he can use it to create pressure and mix-ups on knockdown. This alone is fantastic, but here's more. Ground Pulse is an unblockable shockwave, with the meter burn version being able to OTG an opponent for bonus guaranteed damage, OTG being the act of catching an opponent off the ground. Rock Throw is your standard projectile, but it features impressive damage and block stun, especially when meter burned, and it becomes a mid when the bar is spent. Rolling Stone is a low-rolling projectile that can catch a lot of people trying to move in, but it is the Rolling Cutter, the meter burn option, that has the real dirt. It's plus on block, and it gives Tremor a combo on hit, especially in the corner. Stone Punch is where the trickiness comes from an execution standpoint. It's a regular knockdown by itself, but it has two other directions that you can hold to make it do something else. Hold up to knock the opponent into the air, and hold down to make it a slower but fully launching overhead. This is unsafe, but with so many basic lows that Tremor has, the overhead punch is a stressful mix-up situation that gives you a huge combo reward. The meter burn version of the punch is armored too, can't forget that. Speaking of armor, Stone Blast has armor on meter burn as well, and can once again go high and low for slightly different frame data and attack direction. Now the thing is, that is just the base specials, by the way. He has a ton of them, and every single one is really good. It is the variations that change the properties of these moves, which is why I covered them by themselves now. Tremor, however, is a god of buttons. You're pretty hard-pressed to find one that isn't good in some way, and that's the whole thing. He's covered in utility, without even needing variations active. His low pokes are all great. Down 1 is fast, down 3 has decent range, and down 4 is snappy with decent range also. It's not a standard down 4 either, because he kind of punches the ground, he isn't in as much danger throwing it out as other characters. The down 2 uppercut is a bloody good uppercut. Forward 1 is a 6-frame button with decent range, and it goes into forward 1-2 or forward 1-2-1, both of which are special cancelable. Forward 1-2 keeps them grounded for his biggest combos, and forward 1-2-1 is easy to hit confirm, and you can still combo if you use the stone uppercut. Both of these strings are slightly plus on block. 1-2-3 is a tidy combo ender, used in lots of his max damage punishers, and just when you thought he didn't have enough launching potential, 1-2 down 3 launches as well. Back 1 is a very strong mid, with more than one follow-up. Back 1-2-1 ends in knockdown, with the back 1-2 being cancelable, and back 1 down 4 up 4 launching by itself and having a sneaky low in the middle of it. These are all cancelable, which gives you room to confirm into more damage or block pressure if you have meter available. 2-1 is a strong built-in mix, as 2-1-2 ends in overhead, and 2-1 down 4 has a low in it. The whole string has the down 4 up 4 that the back 1 sports, which gives you the same combo possibilities and confirms on block or hit. 2-1 can honestly sometimes be seen as free damage on the 2-1-2, because nobody is going to block that overhead if they know the reward that low brings. Back 2-4 is definitely a string, but it is mostly the back 2 standalone that you want. it launches, and it can be cancelled into for more combo potential. 3-3 ends in a splat, which is great for the setup variations. Back 3-2-2 features 3 lows, with back 3-2 giving you the mix-up, as again, overhead punch can work here instead of another low. That's every string that he has for the most part, and guess what? They are all insanely good. But now, it's time for variations. So I said that the variations pretty much change all of these base moves, right? And that's where we're going to be starting with Aftershock. Many of his moves are the same, but he now gets new ones that take variationless and just makes it even better. First of all, Aftershock gains another ground pound on top of the standard one, but this is used for setup. After 4 pulses, it detonates as a low, and it can give him a full combo on hit. The meter burn version doing more damage and being even more plus on hit. The existence of the low, and it coming out later, means that you can time some disgusting overhead low mix-ups. Speaking of overhead low, this move can be done in the air as well, which is an instant low attack that can be guided. A jumping attack hitting low completely messes with you, as jumping attacks in general always hit as overheads. So Tremor doing a meaty jump in and then meter burning this low for a full launch, it totally messes with your head and it makes Tremor's jump game mad scary. Aftershock is very much the setup variation here. Metallic changes Tremor arguably the most, as you get 2 characters in one with this. Gold Stance, which you start out with, is more about projectiles. Everything is the same for the most part, although it looks a bit different, but it is his down back 1 that changes from a close ranged blast into a projectile toss. It can be aimed high, or low, or straight, and when you meter burn the straight or up throw, it has a lot more plus frames on hit that leads to follow-ups if it connects at range. It's not a crazy complicated stance, but it has a lot more things to throw at you, which can be good for some matchups. The drawback is that down back 1, the Shatter, becomes a new move, however, so the armor on it is gone. That's okay though, because next he can change to Lava Stance, and this tends to be the more popular among Metallic players. It changes quite a few moves around visually, and here's what the deal is. The Shatter is now Magma Shatter, which has the armor on meter burn again, and it can restand an opponent if they're in the air. It is a great armored attack, but to be honest, also a great attack in general. While basically every special now has a lava visual theme, his Rock Punch now acts differently when you do the uppercut version, the one that holds up. It has a totally different launch type, which changes his combos a significant amount. It means that you can get a bit creative with how you piece them together, but it isn't like the other variations at all, so it takes a bit more lab work to get those combos down. Finally, Rolling Cutter loses the meter burn plus frames, but that's because on hit, it fully launches. You can loop a fair few of these in the combos that you do, and the Rolling Magma is unbreakable when it connects. Hit one of these from range, and then 5 projectiles later for like 30% damage, then they can break. Oh yeah, and every combo ends in a restand, remember, if you use the Magma Shatter. Across Gold and Magma Stance, Metallic, it just lets you have fun and style on the opponent. Saving the best for last though, it's Crystalline. Now, it's probably the most simple of the 3 variations, but there is one reason and one reason alone that it is utterly outrageous, and that is Flex. This move allows Tremor to take 1 hit of reduced damage, but the big thing here is that it gives him a new on-hit animation, which can make him a lot safer on basically everything. When you meter burn this Flex, he takes 0 damage for that hit, giving him a lifeline at the end of a round if he needs to make a comeback, a tool that is rarely given to characters in this game. The general strategy with this is get a knockdown, flex, and then just go ham with mix. If they guess right, who cares? You're armored up and can probably reset the situation anyway. There are other factors to Crystalline though. He can summon an interactable and dive off it or throw it for good damage, but it doesn't really get used all that much as Tremor players are understandably so focused on getting in that the opportunity to create this interactable just doesn't seem as likely. Another smaller factor, but still very important, is that the Shatter becomes different with this variation. He sends out a crystal that explodes, which means that he actually has different frame data on it. Most prominently, the low version, which although is listed as -15 in the move list, It actually connects later, so it's a lot safer than you might think. It can be used to end combo strings for chip, meter build, and the next mind game after that. Crystalline is absolutely ridiculous at high level. Now we've covered Tremor's attacks and design in detail, let's finish this up by discussing why he is considered by many to be the number one, with Crystalline taking that top spot as the strongest variation in the entire game, with characters like Triborg, Melina, Shinnok, Liu Kang, all of these crazy characters in the game. Why Tremor in particular? The reality is, he is in essence the perfect MKX character. Let's look at his tools and we'll compare it to how wild and crazy MKX is at a high level. Tremor has, even without taking a variation, safe armor, extended meterless combos, high damage, built-in mix-ups, keep-away tools, rushdown tools, countless plus frames, unbreakable damage, unblockable OTG, fast buttons, great low pokes, amazing defense. The list goes on, and we haven't even equipped a variation yet. And, even before we cover those variations, one of Tremor's most devastating tools, and this is a big deal, it is a flash parry. I didn't mention it until now, because it is a major part of Tremor's meta. He can do his rock punch meter burn and dash cancel it, which also means he can run cancel it, all while keeping the armor as it starts up. Tremor can in essence absorb your offense and punish you with a full combo because he's cancelled it. Remember that in the final patch of Mortal Kombat X, almost every armored launcher was removed, besides a couple of characters anyway. Tremor getting this armored full combo option when he already has amazing armor without it is a case of Tremor not only playing the game's rules perfectly, but also breaking those rules to a significant degree, because he can punish you with a full combo for just trying to press a button. You take base Tremor with a crazy effective level of utility, and then you throw 3 amazing variations on top of it, with Crystalline being the one that most competitive Tremor players will still take. It goes to show, I think, just how powerful the armored flex is as an attack when you look at Tremor's entire list of variation tools, and the flex alone is still insane enough to be used above all else. When you're blocking Tremor, you're dealing with plus frames, chip damage, overhead low mix-ups, relentless offense, and when you get knocked down, that is just where things begin, because in all variations, he gets something after that, stuff you always have to worry about. MKX is very much at a high level about establishing the single-player game side of things, and if you don't give your opponent a single opportunity to challenge, you're playing the game correctly. It's just the way it's been designed, and Tremor does that better than almost anyone else in the entire game, across all variations. The reality is, modern top-level MKX players 6 years later are showcasing a lot more Tremor in tournaments than ever before. And why shouldn't they? This character is said by many to be the strongest in the game, and with this level of utility, players will use those tools to get the job done. He may be pretty execution heavy and a bit fiddly at times if you're going for his max damage, but these players can pull it off without issue. And to be honest, Tremor is very much one of the most enjoyable characters to play anyway. There's been a recent revival of MKX with all the community competitive activity recently, and I wanted to highlight and showcase just why this character in particular is being picked so much and competitively more popular than ever. On top of just being a sick design and, in my opinion, the greatest DLC character that NRS has ever produced. This character oozes hype, and with over a decade worth of community expectation and starting out in Special Forces, they definitely delivered, for me anyway. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please consider joining my Patreon, and I'll see you next time. Take care.